welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have a couple of fun crafts for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Welcome to our hodgepodge of DIY Christmas crafts. One has nothing to do with the other, but it's what I felt like making, so let's get started with project number one. For this project, I'm using a salvage wood board. Now, the salvage wood board, I believe, is about, let me see, ruler 12, 24, 27 inches long. And then it's about 3.5 inches wide. And what I'm going to do is use a ton of different like bottle brush trees from Walmart, from Dollar Tree, from Hobby Lobby, just, whatever you can find. Trees I'm going to use, and then one of these acrylic deer from Dollar Tree, a couple of snowy pine cones. These beaded, they're like gigantic beaded berries, right, that I love from Hobby Lobby. This came from Walmart in this big package of, tons of snowy pine cones and the big beaded berries for $16 or so. And then these are some hooks I picked up at the Restore. They were 4 for $2, and lo and behold, when I looked them up, they are exactly what I need for this project. I just thought they were hooks, and I love to pick up hooks because I, always want to use them for projects one day. So first thing I'm going to do is all my trees that have a base, I'm just going to take all the bases off. I just want the exposed wire at the bottom of the tree. Now these, I went back to Dollar Tree because I was out of trees and they didn't have trees, but Walmart had these picks. So if you take it off, the top is already kind of pointy if you break the 3 pieces apart. And then I'm going to kind of trim at the top at a slant to that pointy. I'm like, use what you got, right? And now it looks like kind of a cute little skinny Christmas tree or winter tree. There's all sorts of trees in the forest, right? And so then down at the bottom, I am just loosening up that wire so I can remove some excess needles or whatever you want to call those, pull them out so I have more wire exposed, and then I'll twist the wire back shut, of course, and then we have these cute little skinny trees. And then I, doing a little trimming here or there. You do with what you got. That's all I can say. Now what I've got 3 different drill bits. I've laid all my trees out on my board where I want them to be, and all 3 trees that I am using, they all have different size of the little wire on the bottom. So I've got 3 different drill bits to match the, different diameter at the bottom of the trees. And so I'm just, switching in and out the drill bits, drilling. I've marked on the board where the tree's going to sit. I'm drilling those holes, okay? Now I'm taking DIY White Swan chalk paint, and I'm just doing a little dry brushing on the top because later I want to add some snow, but I don't want to have to add a whole lot. And so the fake, snow, aka the paint, will help do our job for us. Once this is dry outside, I'll just take it and sand it a little bit, make it look a little more distressed. And yes, I can still see my holes. All right, this is what it looks like. Now, I had my husband plug these in. These are the hooks, of course, as you can see, because he had time in that moment, and I'm like, get these screwed in for me. So he screwed these in. I've got them about 8 inches apart, and I started each end hook about a 1/2 inch in. Now I will take some thick felt to cover this whole part on each of the bottom of the hooks so that those screws don't like cut, scratch any mantles or whatever you're setting it on. Now I'm just stacking some wood up to set my board on using quick hold glue, because now my board sits higher because I have hooks underneath it, right? And I need it to set level. And I'm just taking the quick hole glue and adding into a couple of holes at a time, then on the bottom of the wire of the tree, and then just sticking that tree right into the diameter of hole that it needs to go into. Okay? And I'll just do this, work on it a little bit more. I know some of the holes, you're like, I know, because you're looking at it going, how do you know which hole? I see a lot of holes. Trust me, I know which hole I'm going into. I think this turned out really cute. I actually made 2. Somewhere here in the video, I'll bring out the other one and kind of show you. The other one has like a 3 hook for stockings. So, of course, this is going to hold stockings, 4 stockings. And that's why I did 8 inches apart, because, I took a stocking and laid it there to see how, far apart I needed my hooks, of course. But I love how this turned out because I kind of just wanted a wintry, snowy scene, that also has a purpose. Just getting the last of the trees in here. And you can, obviously, like I said, my one I'll show you only holds 3 stockings. You can use as long enough board, as many or as little stockings as you want to hold, as many as little trees you want to hold, whatever kind of scene you want to hold, doesn't matter. You do you. And now I'm gluing on this tree from Hobby Lobby. It's the small ones that are like $5.99. They're still half off right now. And I left all the burlap and everything on it because it'll give it some texture, and I'm going to cover it anyway. And then I'm coming in and adding ample glue on the bottom of the feet of this acrylic deer from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to tuck them in. I left a little space in there between the trees when I put them in, and I'm going to just tuck them in that space. And now I'm going to go ahead and add some of my pine cones in areas here, add the, Jihujic beaded berries in here. I'll end up adding another beaded berry later. I don't know why I just left 2, but trust me, in the final looks you'll see 3, but only 2 pine cones. And now for a bow, as I've done millions of times over Christmas, I've got 2 pieces of ripped fabric. They're about 1.5 inches apart, 40 inches long, and a piece of batting that fits to the center. And if you want that look, you can glue it all together, sandwich the batting in between the fabric, or you can sew around the perimeter. It just gives it a rustic look. Obviously, you don't have to do that. If you have a beautiful favorite Christmas ribbon you love to do, add a Christmas ribbon. If you don't want to add a ribbon, don't add a ribbon. What do I always say? Let's say it number 2. You do you. But just kind of showing you a little bit of the sewing going on here. I know you probably saw another bow earlier, but that was from another project, and I was using it to make sure that I had, placement right of like where I was putting the tree and the deer and all that stuff. So that wasn't this bow. Now, of course, I'm assembling our ribbon batting thing into a pretty bow for this particular project, and set it aside. I'm going to put that on last. I'm going to use some of this 3M adhesive and this fake snow. I got this at a garage sale. You know what? The texture to me feels like shredded or shaved styrofoam. And I love it because it's not that plasticky stuff. So what I'm going to do is make sure I spray the spray adhesive. I want to make sure I cover the wire underneath that trees and stuff, as well as, of course, make it look wintry. If there's any glue, because I did ample glue around like the pine cones, around the deer feet, that kind of thing, I'm going to make sure I add lots of snow there to cover up glue, all of that stuff. But again, I don't have to use as much because, we did that little swash of paint on the board previous, so that actually saves on some of the snow that I use. And so I'm going to put it on. It's going to look really thick, but then, of course, once I get it all on one side, I'll turn it over, tap it, and dump off the excess, and then, of course, I'll do the same thing on the back side. And I'm putting some, on the pine cones, on the, berries. It's going to look like a lot, like I said, until I tap it off. But, main goal is just to kind of cover up under the trees. It'll look like a lot when I put it on the back of this burlap here, but don't worry, I'll scrape some of that off. I actually take like a little dry paintbrush and use that to kind of, brush off some of the excess snow in places I can't reach. So here's what that looks like. See, it looks pretty good. I didn't put any snow on the front yet of the burlap bag. I did finally add a little bit here now, but I left most of it off because that's where I want to glue my bow, right down at the base of that middle center tree. And then I'm wrinkling and crinkling my bow right along the front edge of our stocking holder. I don't want it to really drip down or anything. Drip down? Oh yeah, whatever. I'm going with it. Because, the stockings are going to hang down there. But I thought if I put a fabric bow at the top, it would kind of go in with the texture of whatever fabric or, sweater material, whatever cozy stocking your thing looks like. I thought the fabric would kind of fit in with that. All right, so here's the other one I did. I kind of did it a little bit more of red tones. On camera, the bow in the center there looks a lot more reddish. In person, it more matches that little porcelain house, which is an ornament from Walmart. I was going to say Dollar Tree. And this one only has 3 hooks on it because I had only found 3 hooks at, Habitat for Humanity. But it works and it's super cute. The last thing I did want to mention is when I went to look up stocking hooks online, they are all forward-facing hooks at the bottom so that you can hang your stocking on them. So if you go looking in thrift stores for those, make sure they're like forward facing. If you just order them online, you won't have a problem. Last thing I'm doing is taking some glitter mist and I'm glittering everything up. I'll leave a link down below where I get that from. Off camera, I do decide to add in 1 pack of those LED lights from Dollar Tree, kind of wind it through the trees. It gives it just a nice inviting look. That makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Let's move on to our last project, number 2. For this project, I found this cutting board in a thrift store, and it is very well used. I really had to sand and sand and sand a lot to kind of get the grimy off. I know that sounds gross, but, I did it. So I'm just taping off half of the bottom half of the cutting board, just that center. I don't really want to go around to that ledge around the outer side. And I'm going to use Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Magnolia. I will have a link down below where you can purchase these online. And if you're a first-time user, you have a 10% discount to use. Or if you're in the area local, the physical address will be there. You find all sorts of Dixie Belle chalk paints for whatever your crafting needs are. So I'm just painting this up. I'll do 2 coats. I hate painting without tape, but I'm doing it. It drives me nuts, but I really couldn't figure out a way to get a paint in there with that little, inlet around that area, but I did it. There was a couple spots I got out, but I was able to sand it off. Now I'm just going to come in and distress it a little bit. And then once I am done painting, I do take a spray sealer and I seal everything 2 or 3 coats, because I know there's still probably some oils embedded deep down in this cutting board. I will show you, you'll see at the end, I did 2 more cutting boards, and they were brand new cutting boards I got at Hobby Lobby and Walmart. And of course, you can seal it when you're done putting everything on it. Now I am putting this quote on in vinyl. I will have a free printable for you at my blog. The link will be in the description box. You have a PDF and a PNG. Now, I knew when I took this one off of the red word, because it is a glittery vinyl and you have to use a stickier tape, that it was going to pull some of that paint off. The other didn't. Like here up top, obviously there's no paint, but at the bottom when I pull it off down there, it didn't pull any paint off, but that sticky one did. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to combat that? So I took that sticky transfer tape and I just stuck it in other areas and pulled some tape off so that it looked like it was intentional and not that it pulled all that off. Now, the reason it pulled that off is because of the condition of the cutting board underneath, even though I sealed it. But again, make sure once you get your design on it, seal it all up. It's not going to be a usable cutting board. It's decoration only. Now I have some towels. They were 2 white towels I got in a pack at Walmart, and I ripped a couple of pieces of fabric, a homespun, and then just a muslin, and I'm just going to sew with my sewing machine this fabric on. Now, if you are a gluer, you can do like some cute hand stitches, would look really cute, and this is what that looks like with the sewing machine. I know you can barely see the stitches. And then before I sew this other one on, I am going to use heat transfer vinyl and put the word Mary on there. Of course, I will have a PDF and a PNG, so if you wanted to use your printer to print the word Mary onto your fabric and then cut it to the size you need, of course, you have that ability to do so, or you could use fabric paints or something like that. So there, that is on there, and now I'm going to sew off camera around that area. Here is what that looks like, and that's all I'm going to do to the towel. All right, now I have sticky tape here and here to help when I fold. It's double-sided sticky tape to help when I fold the towel together, it stays together. And I will use a piece of sticky tape on the back side here to sticky it to the top half of that cutting board as well. All right, and this is meant to be like a gift, okay? I've got some rope from Walmart. This is a beautiful one of those wood spoons from Hobby Lobby. And then I've just got some different little greenery to kind of, make the gift look a little more appealing. I picked these up at Walmart. And I'm just going to curl the end of that wire there, leaving it a little long tail, and just kind of do a little curly cue to give it a little, something, something. These are some bells from Dollar Tree. Again, leaving a little bit of a long tail, not too long, but a little bit. And I will curly cue it up again just to give it a little personality. I think this is really cute. And I almost think I made 2 with towels and I made a cutting board without towels. And I kind of like, for viewing purposes, the cutting board without the towel, of course, because then you can see that cute little quote that we put on there. I'm adding a great big aromatic cinnamon stick and some of that little black wire you can get from the automotive section at Dollar Tree, because you won't be able to see it. And I'm just tightening that wire really tight on the back with some pliers. Cut off the excess and I'll squeeze it against that ensemble there. And then I'll use my rope to hold it in place. And of course, the knot of the rope will cover that tiny little wire, so you're not going to see it. And then I'm going to make a little bow across the front, right? Yeah, I picked this rope up in Walmart in the Christmas section with all their Christmas ribbons. And I'm just making a little knot at each end of the rope and fraying the ends below the knot. Get this one done here. Like to make sure they're the same size. I know, I'm kind of weird. All right, and now this is a cookie cutter, and I use my crocodile to put a little hole in it, and then I've just got a little safety pin here, and I'm going to pin it right to the middle of that bow ensemble. This is what that looks like. I think it looks really cute. Again, in the final looks, you'll see the one without a towel, so you can decide which one you want to make. I hope you enjoyed our hodgepodge of projects today. This one I kind of took apart for you so you can see the towel ensemble and then the cutting board, and then of course you'll see the other cutting board with no towel added to it. Here's this one with the lights and stuff on it. At the end of the video, we're going to go from really bright here to kind of dark because I took both of the stocking hangers and I did just a little 30-second filming on both of them over like our fake fireplace, hanging a stocking so you can see it in low light and you know how pretty it looks. Here's the one without the towel. I like it because it's fresh and the towel's not covering everything up. So it's whichever one you might choose for gift giving, right? So you get to choose if you want to make these for yourself or give them away as gifts. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project you like best. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another video from me. Now, before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. In the Bible, the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, the Amplified Version, it says, "In all your ways know and acknowledge and recognize him, and he will make your path straight and smooth, removing obstacles that block your way." In Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 6, the New International Version, it says, "In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." By definition, the word acknowledge means to recognize the importance of someone, and by definition, the word submit means to yield to the authority of someone. Although each version of the Bible has a different word and meaning, both words, when used together, add value as you deepen your relationship with Jesus. It's important to recognize who Jesus is as you yield to his authority in your heart. During your lifetime, as you struggle through challenges, you'll probably spend a fair amount of time worrying, but in reality, your heart should spend a more significant amount of time releasing this worry to Jesus. The only way to find rest and peace during difficulties is by allowing yourself to slow down, focus, take a breath, be fully present and fully trusting in what Jesus has for you. He knows the way. He sees the truth in all situations, and he is the sustaining life force to give you the energy and focus you need to make it through your day. When you have too much anxiety or you feel too stressed, you'll tend to focus only on what you can see, and you forget to let God lead you through what you can't see. Change your perspective. Allow God to take charge and be your guide. Trust in his ability to fix it, heal it, or solve it by yielding to his guidance. Quit trying to be in control. It's not up to you to figure it all out, and it's not up to you to understand everything. So right now is your opportunity to put your confidence and trust in the perfect plans that God has for you. It's your opportunity to be willing to acknowledge and submit to his promises by putting your faith in him. It's your opportunity to let go and believe, not only in the words of Proverbs 3:6, but also the words of Proverbs 3:5. And here it is. Trust in and rely confidently on the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insider understanding. In all your ways, submit or know and acknowledge and recognize him, and he will make your path straight and smooth, removing obstacles that block your way. So it's quite simple, really. You need to have a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, and strength of God with everything that he has for you. You need to let your heart confidently recognize that he alone is able to see through that dense forest you may be staring at, and realize that with his authority, he will protect you, care for you, and guide every one of your steps past that dense tree line and give you a beautiful, scenic view of hope for the future. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.